Hello. Alright, going to be doing another Hazmat studying or reading video. Still doing the games giveaway. Let's bring that up. Where did I put that? So, we'll do a little... There we go. Let's see what you could win on the picker wheel of games. Something good. Come on, something good. Something good. What is it? What's it gonna be? Shadows Awakening. If that sounds like something you would like, be sure to let me know in the live chat and we'll give this wheel a spin. Again, these are old Humble Bundle codes, Steam codes, from a few years ago, I think 2000 or 2001, something like that. I've got hundreds more. I do not have the time to play these games, and I figure, well, might as well just see if there's someone else out there that'd like them. So, come back to this. Change that over. And then this should be A. Look at that. Alright. We stopped last time at the beginning of 9.4. So that's where we will begin today. 9.4. Oh yes, this is hazardous materials. 9.4. Loading and unloading. Do all you can to protect containers of hazardous materials. Don't use any tools which might damage containers or other packaging during loading. Don't use hooks. 9.4.1 General Loading Requirements. Before loading or unloading, set the parking brake. Make sure the vehicle will not move. Many products become more hazardous when exposed to heat. Load hazardous materials away from heat sources. Watch for signs of leaking or damaged containers. Leaks spell trouble. Don't transport leaking packages. Depending on the material, you, your truck, and others could be in danger. It is illegal to move a vehicle with leaking hazardous materials. Containers of hazardous materials must be braced to prevent movement of the packages during transportation. No smoking. When loading or unloading hazardous materials, keep fire away. Don't let people smoke nearby. Never smoke around Class 1 explosives, Class 2.1 flammable gas, Class 3 flammable liquids, Class 4 flammable solids, and Class 5 oxidizers. Secure against movement. Brace containers so they will not fall, slide, or bounce around during transportation. Be very careful when loading containers that have valves or other fittings. All hazardous materials packages must be secured during transportation. You know what? I forgot. Where's it go? Yeah, I know I'm messing up the flow here. Where's it at? I forgot to put on my background music. Where did it go? Oh, let me find it again. Got different music today than the other day. This one, that's not what I'm looking for. Yes, this is the one. The whatever it's called. Is it under here? Yes. This one. Motivation. We'll put that on loop. Alright. Where were we? I think we were somewhere around here. Secure against movement. Brace containers so they will not fall, slide, or bounce around during transportation. Be very careful when loading containers that have valves or other fittings. All hazardous materials packages must be secured during transportation. After loading, do not open any package during your trip. Never transfer hazardous materials from one package to another while in transit. You may empty a cargo tank, but do not empty any other package while it is on the vehicle. Cargo heater rules. There are special cargo heater rules for loading. Class 1 explosives, Class 2.1 flammable gas, Class 3 flammable liquids. These rules usually forbid use of cargo heaters, including automatic cargo heater/air conditioner units. Unless you have read all the related rules, don't load the above products in a cargo space that has a heater. Use closed cargo space. You cannot have overhang or tailgate loads of Class 1 explosives, Class 4 flammable solids, and Class 5 oxidizers. You must load these hazardous materials into a closed cargo space unless all packages are fire and water resistant, covered with a fire and water resistant tarp. Precautions for specific hazards. Class 1 explosives materials. Turn your engine off before loading or unloading any explosives. Then check the cargo space. You must disable cargo heaters, disconnect heater power source, and drain heater fuel tanks. Make sure there is no sharp points that might damage cargo. Look for bolts, screws, nails, broken side panels, and broken floorboards. Use a floor lining with division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3. The floors must be tight, and the liner must be either non-metallic material or non-ferrous metal. Non-ferrous metals are any metal that does not contain iron or iron alloys. Use extra care to protect explosives. Never use hooks or other metal tools. Never drop, throw, or roll packages. Protect explosive packages from other cargo that might cause damage. Do not transfer a Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 from one vehicle to another on a public roadway, except in an emergency. If safety requires an emergency transfer, set out red warning reflectors, flags, or electric lanterns. You must warn others on the road. Never transport damaged packages or explosives. Do not take a package that shows any dampness or oily stain. Do not transport Division 1.1, 1.2 in vehicle combinations if there is a marked or placarded cargo tank in the combination, the other vehicle in the combination contains 1.1 and initiating explosives. Okay. Yes. The other vehicle in the combination contains Division 1.1 a initiating explosives. Packages of Class 7 radioactive materials labeled Yellow 3. Division 2.3 poisonous gas, Hazard Zone A or B, or Division 6.1 poisonous materials, Hazard Zone A. Hazardous materials in a portable tank on a DOT spec 106A or 110A tank. Class 4 flammable solids and Class 5 oxidizers materials. Class 4 materials are solids that react, including fire and explosion, to water, heat, and air, or even react spontaneously. Class 4 and 5 materials must be completely enclosed in a vehicle or covered securely. Class 4 and 5 materials, which become unstable and dangerous when wet, must be kept dry while in transit and during loading and unloading. Materials that are subject to spontaneous combustion or heating must be in vehicles with sufficient ventilation. Class 8 corrosive materials. If loading by hand, load breakable containers of corrosive liquid one by one. Keep them right side up. Do not drop or roll the containers. Load them into an even floor surface. Stack carboys only if the lower tiers can bear the weight of the upper tiers safely. Do not load nitric acid above any other product. Load charged storage batteries so their liquid won't spill. Keep them right side up. Make sure other cargo won't fall against or short circuit them. Never load corrosive liquids next to or above Division 1.4 Explosives C, Division 4.1 Flammable Solids, Division 4.3 Dangerous when wet, Class 5 Oxidizers, Division 2.3 Zone B Poisonous Gases. Never load corrosive liquids with Division 1.1 or 1.2, Division 1.3, Division 1.5 Blasting Agents, Division 2.3 Zone A Poisonous Gases, Division 4.2 Spontaneously Combustible Materials, and Division 6.1 PGI Zone A Poisonous Liquids. Class 2 Compressed Gases, including carcinogenic liquids. If your vehicle doesn't have racks to hold cylinders, the cargo space floor must be flat. The cylinders must be held upright. In racks attached to the vehicle or in boxes that will keep them from turning over, cylinders may be loaded in a horizontal position lying down. If it is designed so the relief valve is in the vapor space. Division 2.3 Poisonous Gas or Division 6.1 Poisonous Materials. Never transport these materials in containers with interconnections. Never load a package labeled poison or poison inhalation hazard in the driver's cab or sleeper or with food material for human or animal consumption. There are special rules for loading and unloading Class 2 materials in cargo tanks. You must have special training to do this. Class 7 Radioactive Materials. Some packages of Class 7 radioactive materials bear a number called the Transport Index. The shipper labels these packages Radioactive 2 or Radioactive 3. The print and package's Transport Index on the label. Radioactive 2 or Radioactive 3 and prints the package's Transport Index on the label. Radiation surrounds each package, passing through all nearby packages. To deal with this problem, the number of packages you can load together is controlled. Their closeness to people, animals, and unexposed film is also controlled. The Transport Index tells the degree of control needed during transportation. The total transportation index of all packages in a single vehicle must not exceed 50. Table A to this section, 49 CFR 177-842, shows rules for each transport index. It shows how close you can load Class 7 radioactive materials to people, animals, or film. For example, you can't leave a package with a transport index of 1.1 within 2 feet of people or cargo space walls. And we have figure 9.9 here, do not load table. Mixed loads. The rules require some products to be loaded separately. You cannot load them together in the same cargo space. Figure 9.9 lists some examples. The regulations, the segregation table of hazardous materials, name other materials you must keep apart. Then we have a section 9.4, test your knowledge. And we'll go on to 9.5. 9.5, bulk packaging, marking, loading, and unloading. The glossary at the end of this section gives the meaning of the word bulk. Cargo tanks are bulk packaging permanently attached to a vehicle. Cargo tanks remain on the vehicle when you load and unload them. Portable tanks are bulk packaging which are not permanently attached to a vehicle. The product is loaded or unloaded while the portable tanks are off the vehicle. Portable tanks are then put on a vehicle for transportation. There are many types of cargo tanks in use. The most common cargo tanks are MC306 for liquids and MC331 for gases. 9.5.1 Markings. You must display identification numbers of the hazardous materials in portable tanks and cargo tanks and other bulk packaging, such as dump trucks. Identification numbers are in column 4 of the hazardous materials table. The rules require black 100mm 3.9-inch numbers on orange panels, placards, or a white diamond-shaped background if no placards are required. Specification cargo tanks must show retest date markings. Portable tanks must also show the lessee or owner's name. They must also display the shipping name of the contents on 2 opposing sides. The letters of the shipping name must be at least 2 inches tall on portable tanks with capacities of more than 1,000 gallons and 1 inch tall on portable tanks with capacities of less than 1,000 gallons. The identification number must appear on each side and each end of the portable tank or other bulk packaging that holds 1,000 gallons or more, and on 2 opposing sides. If the portable tank holds less than 1,000 gallons, the identification number must still be visible when the portable tank is in the motor vehicle. If they are not visible, you must display the identification number on both sides and ends of the motor vehicle. Intermediate bulk containers, IBCs, are bulk packages but are not required to have the owner's name or shipping name. (9.5.2) Tank loading. The person in charge of loading and unloading a cargo tank must be sure a qualified person is always watching. The person watching and loading or unloading must be alert, have a clear view of the cargo tank, be within 25 feet of the tank, know the hazards of the materials involved, know the procedures to follow in an emergency, be authorized to move the cargo tank and able to do so. There are special attendance rules for cargo tanks transporting propane and ammonia anhydrous ammonia. Close all manholes and valves before moving a tank of hazardous materials. No matter how small the amount in the tank or how short the distance, manholes and valves must be closed to prevent leaks. It is illegal to move a cargo tank with open valves or covers unless it is empty, according to 49 CFR 173.29. 9.5.3 Flammable liquids. Turn off your engine before loading or unloading any flammable liquids. Only run the engine if needed to operate a pump. Ground a cargo tank correctly before filling it through an open filling hole. Ground the tank before opening the filling hole and maintain the ground until after closing the filling hole. 9.5.4 Compressed gases. Keep liquid discharge valves on a compressed gas tank closed except when loading and unloading. Unless your engine runs a pump for product transfer, turn it off when loading or unloading. If you use the engine, turn it off after product transfer before you unhook the hose. Unhook all loading-unloading connections before coupling, uncoupling, or moving a cargo tank. Always check trailers and semi-trailers to prevent motion when uncoupling from the power unit. A 9.5 Test your knowledge. 9.6 Hazardous materials, driving and parking rules. 9.6.1 Parking with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. Never park with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives within 5 feet of the traveled part of the road, except for short periods of time needed for vehicle operation necessities, e.g. fueling. Do not park within 300 feet of a bridge, tunnel, or building, a place where people gather, and open fire. If you must park to do your job, do so only briefly. Don't park on private property unless the owner is aware of the danger. Someone must always watch the parked vehicle. You may let someone else watch it for you only if your vehicle is on the shipper's property, on the carrier's property, on the consignee's property. You are allowed to leave the vehicle unattended in a safe haven. A safe haven is an approved place for parking unattended vehicles loaded with explosives. Designation of authorized safe havens is usually made by local authorities. 9.6.2 Parking a placarded vehicle not transporting Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. You may park a placarded vehicle not laden with explosives within 5 feet of the traveled part of the road only if your work requires it. Do so only briefly. Someone must always watch the vehicle when parked on a public roadway or shoulder. Do not uncouple a trailer and leave it with hazardous materials on a public street. Do not park within 300 feet of an open fire. 9.6.3 Attending parked vehicles. The person attending a placarded vehicle must be in the vehicle, awake, and not in the sleeper berth or within 100 feet of the vehicle and have it within clear view. Be aware of the hazards of the materials being transported. Know what to do in emergencies. Be able to move the vehicle if needed. 9.6.4 No flares. You might break down and have to use stopped vehicle signals. Use reflective triangles or red electric lights. Never use burning signals such as flares or fusees. Around A tank used for Class 3 flammable liquids or Division 2.1 flammable gases, whether loaded or empty. Vehicle loaded with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. 9.6.5 Route restrictions. Some states and counties require permits to transport hazardous materials or wastes. They may limit the route you can use. Local rules about routes and permits change often. It is your job as driver to find out if you are words are blending together. It is your job as driver to find out if you need permits or must use special routes. Make sure you have all needed papers before starting. If you work for a carrier, ask your dispatcher about route restrictions or permits. If you are an independent trucker and are planning a new route, check with state agencies where you plan to travel. Some localities prohibit transportation of hazardous materials through tunnels, over bridges, or other roadways. Always check before you start. Whenever placarded, avoid heavily populated areas, crowds, tunnels, narrow streets, and alleys. Take your routes, even if inconvenient. Take other routes, even if inconvenient, unless there is no other way. Never drive a placarded vehicle near open fires unless you can safely pass without stopping. If transporting Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives, you must have a written route plan and follow that plan. Carriers prepare the route plan in advance and give the driver a copy. You may plan the route yourself if you pick up the explosives at a location other than your employer's terminal. Write out the plan in advance. Keep a copy of it with you while transporting the explosives. Deliver shipments of explosives only to authorized persons, or leave them in locked rooms designed for explosives storage. A carrier must choose the safest route to transport placarded radioactive materials. After choosing the route, the carrier must tell the driver about the radioactive materials and show the route plan. 9.6.6 No smoking. Do not smoke within 25 feet of a placarded cargo tank used for Class 3 flammable liquids or Division 2.1 gases. Also, do not smoke or carry a lighted cigarette, cigar, or pipe within 25 feet of any vehicle which contains Class 1 explosives, Class 3 flammable liquids, Class 4.1 flammable solids, Class 4.2 spontaneously combustible, Class 5 oxidizers. 9.6.7 Refuel with engine off. Turn off your engine before fueling a motor vehicle. It's a whole sentence. Turn off your engine before fueling a motor vehicle containing hazardous materials. Someone must always be at the nozzle, controlling fuel flow. 9.6.8 10 BC fire extinguisher. The power unit of placarded vehicles must have a fire extinguisher with a UL rating of 10 BC or more. 9.6.9 Check tires. Make sure your tires are properly inflated. You must examine each tire on a motor vehicle at the beginning of each trip and each time the vehicle is parked. The only acceptable way to check the tire pressure is to use a tire pressure gauge. Do not drive with a tire that is leaking or flat except to the nearest safe place to fix it. Remove any overheated tire. Place it a safe distance from your vehicle. Don't drive until you correct the cause of the overheating. Remember to follow the rules about parking and attending placarded vehicles. They apply even when checking, repairing, or replacing tires. 9.6.10 Where to keep shipping papers and emergency response information. Do not accept a hazardous materials shipment without a properly prepared shipping paper. A shipping paper for hazardous materials must always be easily recognized. Other people must be able to find it quickly after a crash. Clearly distinguish hazardous materials shipping papers from others by tabbing them or keeping them on top of the stack of papers. When you are behind the wheel, keep shipping papers within your reach with your seatbelt on, or in a pouch on the driver's door. They must be easily seen by someone entering the cab. When not behind the wheel, leave shipping papers on the driver's door pouch or on the driver's seat. Emergency response information must be kept in the same location as the shipping paper. Papers for Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. A carrier must give each driver transporting Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives a copy of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, FMCSR, Part 397. The carrier must also give written instructions on what to do if delayed or in an accident. The written instructions must include the name and telephone numbers of people to contact, including carrier agents and shippers, the nature of the explosives transported, the precautions to take in emergencies such as fires, accidents, or leaks. Drivers must sign a receipt of these documents. You must be familiar with and have in your possession while driving the shipping papers, written emergency instructions, written route plan, a copy of FMSCR Part 397. 9.6.11 Equipment for chlorine. A driver transporting chlorine in cargo tanks must have an approved gas mask in the vehicle. The driver must also have an emergency kit for controlling leaks in dome cover plate fittings on the cargo tank. 9.6.12 Stop before railroad crossings. Stop before a railroad crossing if your vehicle is placarded, carries any amount of chlorine, has cargo tanks, whether loaded or empty, used for hazardous materials. You must stop 15 to 50 feet before the nearest rail. Proceed only when you are sure no train is coming and you can clear the tracks without stopping. Don't shift gears while crossing railroad tracks. 9.7 Hazardous Materials Emergencies. 9.7.1 Emergency Response Guidebook, ERG. The Department of Transportation has a guidebook for firefighters, police, and industry workers on how to protect themselves in the public from hazardous materials. The guide is indexed by proper shipping names and hazardous materials identification number. Emergency personnel look for these things on the shipping paper. That is why it is vital that the proper shipping name, identification number, label, and placards be correct. 9.7.2 Crashes Incidents. As a professional driver, your job is to secure a crash or an incident. As a professional driver, your job at the scene of a crash or an incident is, got it correct that time, keep people away from the scene. Limit the spread of material, only if you can safely do so. Communicate the danger of the hazardous materials to emergency response personnel. Provide emergency responders with the shipping papers and emergency response information. Follow this checklist. Check to see that your driving partner is okay. Keep shipping papers with you. Keep people away and upwind. Warn others of the dangers. Call for help. Follow your employer's instructions. 9.7.3 Fires. You might have to control minor truck fires on the road. However, unless you have the training and equipment to do so safely, don't fight hazardous materials fires. Dealing with hazardous materials fires requires special training and protective gear. When you discover a fire, call for help. You may use the fire extinguisher to keep minor truck fires from spreading to cargo before firefighters arrive. Feel trailer doors to see if they are hot before opening them. If hot, you may have a cargo fire and should not open the doors. Opening doors let air in and may make the fire flare up. Without air, many fires will smolder until firemen arrive, doing less damage. If your cargo is already on fire, it is not safe to fight the fire. Keep the shipping papers with you to give the emergency personnel as soon as they arrive. Warn other people of the danger and keep them away. If you discover a cargo leak, identify the hazardous materials leaking by using shipping papers, labels, or package locations. Do not touch any leaking material. Many people injure themselves by touching hazardous materials. Do not try to identify the material or find the source of the leak by smell. Toxic gases can destroy your sense of smell and can injure or kill you even if they don't smell. Never eat, drink, or smoke around a leak or spill. If hazardous materials are spilling from your vehicle, do not move it any more than safety requires. You may move off the road and away from places where people gather if doing so serves safety. Only move your vehicle if you can do so without danger to yourself or others. Never continue driving with hazardous materials leaking from your vehicle in order to find a phone. Stop truck without finding a phone, truck stop, help, or similar reason. Remember, the carrier pays for the cleanup of contaminated parking lots, roadways, and drainage ditches. The costs are enormous, so don't leave a lengthy trail of contamination. If hazardous materials are spilling from your vehicle, park it, secure the area, stay there, call for help, or send someone else for help. When sending someone for help, give that person a description of the emergency, your exact location, and direction of travel. Your name, the carrier's name, the name of the community or city where your terminal is located, the proper shipping name, hazard class, and identification number of the hazardous materials if you know them. This is a lot for someone to remember. It is a good idea to write it all down for the person you send for help. The emergency response team must know these things to find you and to handle the emergency. They may have to travel miles to get to you. The information will help them bring the right equipment the first time, without having to go back for it. Never move your vehicle, if doing so will cause contamination or damage the vehicle. Keep upwind and away from roadside rests, truck stops, cafes, and businesses. Never try to repack leaking materials, unless you have the training and equipment to repair leaks safely. Don't try it. Call your dispatcher or supervisor for instructions and, if needed, emergency personnel. 9.7.4 Response to specific hazards. Class 1 Explosives. If your vehicle has a breakdown or accident while carrying explosives, warn others of the danger. Keep bystanders away. Do not allow smoking or open fire near the vehicle. If there is a fire, warn everyone of the danger of explosion. Remove all explosives before separating vehicles involved in a collision. Place the explosives at least 200 feet from the vehicles and occupied buildings. Stay a safe distance away. Class 2 Compressed gases. If compressed gas is leaking from your vehicle, warn others of the danger. Only permit those involved in removing the hazards or wreckage to get close. You must notify the shipper if compressed gas is involved in any accident. Unless you are fueling machinery used in road construction or maintenance, do not transfer a flammable compressed gas from one tank to another on any public roadway. Class 3 Flammable Liquids. If you are transporting a flammable liquid and have an accident or your vehicle breaks down, prevent bystanders from gathering. Warn people of the danger, keep them from smoking. Never transport a leaking cargo tank further than needed to reach a safe place. Get off the roadway. Get off the roadway if you can do so safely. Don't transfer flammable liquids from one vehicle to another on a public roadway except in an emergency. Class 4 Flammable Solids and Class 5 Oxidizing Materials. If a flammable solid or oxidizing material spills, warn others of the fire hazard. Do not open smoldering packages of flammable solids. Remove them from the vehicle if you can safely do so. Always remove unbroken packages if it will decrease the fire hazard. Class 6 Poisonous Materials and Infectious Substances. It is your job to protect yourself, other people, and property from harm. Remember that many products classed as poisons are also flammable. If you think a Division 2.3 poisonous gases or Division 6.1 poisonous materials might be flammable, take the added precautions needed for flammable liquids or gases. Do not allow smoking, open flame, or welding. Warn others of the hazards of fire, of inhaling vapors, or coming in contact with the poison. A vehicle involved in a leak of Division 2.3 poison gases or Division 6.1 poisonous must be checked for stray poison before being used again. If a Division 6.2 infectious substances packages is damaged in handling or transportation, you should immediately contact your supervisor. Packages that appear to be damaged or show signs of leakage should not be accepted. Class 7 Radioactive Materials. If radioactive materials is involved in a leak or broken package, tell your dispatcher or supervisor as soon as possible. If there is a spill or if an internal container might be damaged, do not touch or inhale the material. Do not use the vehicle until it is cleaned and checked with a survey meter. Class 8 Corrosive Materials. If corrosives spill or leak during transportation, be careful to avoid further damage or injury when handling the containers. Parts of the vehicle exposed to a corrosive liquid must be thoroughly washed with water. After unloading, wash out the interior as soon as possible before reloading. If continuing to transport a leaking tank would be unsafe, get off the road. If safe to do so, contain any liquid leaking from the vehicle. Keep bystanders away from the liquid and its fumes. Do everything possible to prevent injury to yourself and to others. 9.7.5 Required Notification. The National Response Center helps coordinate emergency response to chemical hazards. It is a resource to the police and firefighters. It maintains a 24-hour toll-free line listed below. You or your employer must phone when any of the following occur as a direct result of a hazardous materials incident. A person is killed. An injured person requires hospitalization. Estimated property damage exceeds $50,000. The general public is evacuated for more than 1 hour. One or more major transportation arteries or facilities are closed for 1 hour or more. Fire, breakage, spillage, or suspected radioactive contamination occurs. Fire, breakage, spillage, or suspected contamination occurs involving shipment of infectious substances, bacteria, or toxins. The result of a marine pollutant in a quantity greater than 119 gallons for a liquid or 882 pounds for a solid, or a situation exists in which a nature, e.g., continuing danger to life, exists at the scene of an incident, that in the judgment of the carrier should be reported. National Response Center, 800-424-8802. Persons telephoning the National Response Center should be ready to give their name and address of the carrier they work for, phone number where they can be reached, date, time, and location of incident, the extent of injuries if any, classification, name, and quantities of hazardous materials involved, if such information is available, type of incident and nature of hazardous materials involved, and whether a continuing danger to life exists at the scene. If a reportable quantity of hazardous substances was involved, the caller should give the name of the shipper and the quantity of the hazardous substances discharged. Be prepared to give your employer the required information as well. Carriers must make detailed written reports within 30 days of an incident. Chemtrek, 800-424-9300. The Chemical Transportation Emergency Center, Chemtrek, in Washington also has a 24-hour toll-free line. Chemtrek was created to provide emergency personnel with technical information about the physical properties of hazardous materials. The National Response Center and Chemtrek are in close communication. If you call either one, they will tell the other about the problem when appropriate. Do not leave radioactive yellow 2 or yellow 3 labeled packages near people, animals, or film longer than shown in figure 9.10. Alright, now we have radioactive separation table A, figure 9.10 or 9.10. Classes of hazardous materials. Hazardous materials are categorized into 9 major hazard classes and additional categories for consumer commodities and combustible liquids. The classes of hazardous materials are listed in figure 9.11. Hazard class definition table B, figure 9.11. And then we have a test your knowledge for 9.6 and 9.7, which I'm not going to do. And that is going to be it for today. Done reading today. I don't know how much more we have in the hazardous materials. Oh, it doesn't look like too much, actually. You know what, I'll finish this off, and then we'll be done with the, looks like that should be the 9.8 looks like it's probably the end of the hazardous materials. Yeah, after that it's school buses. So I'll finish hazardous materials. 9.8, it's the glossary section, so it shouldn't be much. Alright, 9.8, hazardous materials glossary. This glossary presents definitions for certain terms used in this section. A complete glossary of terms can be found in the Federal Hazardous Materials Rules 49 CFR 171.8. You should have an up-to-date copy of these rules for your reference. Note: You will not be tested on this glossary. Section 171.8 Definitions and Abbreviations. Bulk packaging. Packaging other than a vessel or a barge, including a transport vehicle or freight container in which hazardous materials are loaded with no intermediate form of containment. Words are hard. Containment, and which has a maximum capacity greater than 450 liters, 119 gallons, as a receptacle for liquid, a maximum net mass greater than 400 kilograms, 882 pounds, or a maximum capacity greater than 450 liters, 119 gallons, as a receptacle for a solid, or a water capacity greater than 454 kilograms, 1,000 pounds, as receptacle for a gas as defined in section 173.115. Cargo tank. A bulk packaging which is a tank intended primarily for the carriage of liquids or gases and includes apparatuses. I don't know what that appurtenances. Apperten and in and sense, I don't know, reinforcements, fittings, and closures. I have no idea. Fittings and closures for tank. See 49 CFR 178.345-1C, 178.337-1, or 178.338-1 if applicable. Is permanently attached to or forms a part of a motor vehicle, or is not permanently attached to a motor vehicle, by which, by reason of its size, construction, or attachment, is a motor vehicle, is loaded or unloaded without being removed from the motor vehicle, and is not fabricated under a specification for cylinders, portable tanks, tank cars, or multi-unit tank car tanks. Carrier. A person who transports passengers or property in commerce by rail car, aircraft, motor vehicle, or vessel. Consignee. The business or person to whom a shipment is delivered. Division. A subdivision of a hazardous class. Hazard class. EPA. U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. FMCSR, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. Freight container, a reusable container having a volume of 64 cubic feet or more, designed and constructed to permit being lifted with its contents intact and intended primarily for containment of packages in unit form during transportation. Fuel tank, a tank other than a cargo tank used to transport flammable or combustible liquid or compressed gas for the purpose of supplying fuel for propulsion of the transport vehicle in which it is attached, or for the operation of other equipment on the transport vehicle. Gross weight or gross mass, the weight of the packaging plus the weight of its contents. Hazard class, the category of hazard assigned to a hazardous material under the differential criteria of Part 173 and the provisions of Sector 172.101 table. A material may meet the defining criteria for more than one hazard class, but is assigned to only one hazard class. Hazardous materials, a substance or material which has been determined by the Secretary of Transportation to be capable of posing an unreasonable risk to health, safety, and property when transported in commerce, and which has been so designated. The term includes hazardous substances, hazardous wastes, marine pollutants, elevated temperature materials, and materials designated as hazardous in the hazardous materials table of 172.101. The materials that meet the defining criteria for hazard classes and divisions in 173 subchapter 3 of this chapter. Hazardous substance, a material including mixtures and solutions that is listed in Appendix A to Section 172.101, is a quantity in one package which equals or exceeds the reportable quantity, the RQ, listed in Appendix A to Section 172.101, and when in mixture or solution for what the freak is this word? For radionuclides, conforms to paragraph 7 of Appendix A to Section 172.101. For other than radionuclides is in a concentration by weight which equals or exceeds the concentration corresponding to the RQ of the material as shown in Figure 9.12. Hazardous substance concentrations. Figure 9.12. This definition does not apply to petroleum products that are lubricants or fuels. See 40 CFR 300.6. Hazardous wastes and any material that is subject to the hazardous waste manifest requirements of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency specified in 40 CFR Part 262. Intermediate bulk container, IBC. A rigid or flexible portable packaging other than a cylinder or portable tank which is designed for mechanical handling. Standards for IBCs manufactured in the United States are set forth in the Subpart N and O Part 178. Limited quantity. The maximum amount of a hazardous material for which there may be specific labeling or packaging exception. Marking. The descriptive name, identification number, instructions, cautions, weights, specifications, or UN marks, or combination thereof required by the subchapter on the outer package of hazardous materials. Mixture. A material composed of more than one chemical compound or element. Name of contents. The proper shipping name as specified in Section 172.101. Non-bulk packaging. A packaging which has a maximum capacity of 450 liters, 119 gallons, as a receptacle for liquid. A maximum net mass less than 400 kilograms, 882 pounds, and a maximum capacity of 450 liters, 119 gallons, or less as a receptacle for a solid. A water capacity greater than 454 kilograms, 1,000 pounds, or less as a receptacle for a gas as defined in section 173.115. Regardless of the definition of bulk packaging, a maximum net mass of 400 kilograms, 882 pounds or less for a bag or box conforming to the applicable requirements for specification packagings, including the maximum net mass limitations provided in subpart L of part 178, the NOS, not otherwise specified. Outage or ullage, the amount by which a packaging falls short of being liquid full, usually expressed in percent by volume. Portable tank, bulk packaging except a cylinder having a water capacity of 1,000 pounds or less, designed primarily to be loaded into or on or temporarily attached to a transport vehicle or ship and equipped with skids, mountings, or accessories to facilitate handling of the tank by mechanical means. It does not include a cargo tank, tank car, multi-unit tank car, tank, or trailer carrying 3AX, 3AAX, or 3T cylinders. Proper shipping name. The name of the hazardous materials shown in Roman print, not italics, in section 172.101. PSI or P.S.I. or PSI, pounds per square inch. P.S.I.A. or PSIA, pounds per square inch absolute. Reportable quantity, RQ, the quantity specified in column 2 of the appendix to section 172.101 for any material identified in column A of the appendix. PHMSA, the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, U.S. Department of Transportation, Washington, D.C., 20590. Shipper's certification. A shipment on a shipping paper signed by the shipper saying he/she prepared the shipment properly according to law. For example, this is to certify that the above named materials are properly classified, described, packaged, marked, and labeled, and are in proper condition for transportation according to the applicable regulations or the Department of Transportation. Or, I hereby declare that the contents of this consignment are fully and accurately described above by the proper shipping name and are classified, packaged, marked, and labeled, placarded, and are in all respects in proper condition for transport according to applicable international and national government regulations. Shipping paper. A shipping order, bill of lading, manifest, or other shipping document serving a similar purpose prepared in accordance with subpart C of part 172. Technical name. A recognized chemical name or microbiological name currently used in scientific and technical handbooks, journals, and texts. Transport vehicle. A cargo carrying vehicle, such as an automobile, van, tractor, truck, semi-trailer, tank car, or rail car used for the transportation of cargo by any mode. Each cargo carrying body, trailer, rail car, etc. is a separate transport vehicle. UN standard packaging. a specification packaging conforming to the standards of the UN recommendations. UN, United Nations. And that looks like it is the end of the hazardous materials. Oh, wow, I only messed up a whole lot. That's great. Well, now that I read that, I just need to do it a whole bunch more times so that I can go take my test and hopefully not fail. Yep. And it's time for me to start getting ready for work. We'll do, let me do this. We'll do one more test spin of the game wheel. There we go. Let's see. Could be one on the wheel? Spin! Oh, there's only the best games are on this wheel. I can, well, there's some alright games on here. Fae Tactics. Fae Tactics. That's up there. If that's something you might be interested in, be sure to, you know, come to the next live stream and say, let me spin the wheel. Spin that wheel or something. I don't know. But yeah, there's a whole bunch up there. We've got it's like 127 on there right now. No one's come in and won a game yet, but I'm sure it's only just a matter of time. And then once we start getting some winners, I'll start adding more games on there, because I have hundreds. I have all of the Humble Bundle games from, I think this is, what is this? I don't remember. I think this is 2000 or 2001. So I have all the games from, you know, 2002, or not 2001, 2020. I think this is 2020 or 2021. So I have all the games from 2022 and 2023 and, you know, 2024 too. So if you'd like to get a Steam key for one of these great games, just come on in while we're doing a live stream, whatever I'm doing, and whether it's playing a game or reading something, and just say something in the live chat and get a spin and get you a game key. Alright? And that is going to be it for today. I hope you're all doing well, and be safe out there. Bye.